Hi. So we've got, a few minutes, maybe like 30 minutes before the train comes. So I figured it's a pretty good time to chat with you guys because I realized how much you lovies miss me when I'm away. It's just so hard to live in a world without me. I'm obviously fucking with you. But today I got a Subway Club. So it's got ham, it's got roast beef, it's got turkey, and all the veggies. It's good.
Yeah, everyone's attention please for those of you that are waiting for your upper train. That train will be severely delayed. Train 538 just got involved in an incident. Once again, your upper train will be severely delayed. This train got involved into an incident. We do not know what the ETA. It will take a while. We do not have a backup plan yet. As soon as we know, I will make announcements.
Okay. Sounds like something happened with the train. Here's something we can actually talk about. I read over this earlier. I didn't actually read it, but so I saw this and I thought to myself, this is great. Nice. Okay, so can you see this? So Quavo did an interview called Unfinished Business in GQ where he talks about a couple things. So let's just read it. As part of Migos, Quavo helped change rap forever. But in order to understand the kid from Gwinnett, you have to start from the beginning. Before his childhood home burned down, before he found his long lost older brother, and especially before the limelight. Oh wow, GQ hype. It's the big story of right now. Cool. Quavius Marshall has always had a talent for manifesting the life he wanted. Just ask his mother, Edna. Even as a baby growing up in Athens, Georgia, the future leader of Migos already showed signs that he was divining his own future. Take the first word to come out of his young mouth. Instead of saying mama or daddy, Edna recalls he said ball. She says that baby Quavo then reached out for a football, an object he'd come to cherish, and never said anything else until he was 3. Oh wow, that's incredible. I think that shows us a sign of genius, because the same thing happened with oh man, there's a famous writer who did that too. She didn't talk for like 4 years. When I met up with Quavo on a warm spring day in late May, he's dressed far less flashy than you might imagine, especially for a global rap star whose whole deal is often one of projecting drippy excess. He's wearing distressed jeans paired with a blotchy blue, green, and orange Louis Vuitton t-shirt, as if a local weather report was being televised on his torso. No visible jewelry, save for a watch. So he's got a picture here with his mother. Wow, he looks very similar. He looks like his mother. I haven't seen a photo of his father, but he does look like his mother. We're inside the Atlanta headquarters of Quality Control Music, the record label that helped turn Migos into a decade-defining force, a group whose trademark trip-it flow and playful chemistry reshaped the sound of rap. In the recent history of hip-hop, only a small number of artists could begin to touch their level of influence. Even fewer have sounded like they were having as much fun. That's true. Quavius Marshall, 31, is the eldest of the trio and indisputably the leader, hence his nickname Honcho the Boss, a trap heartthrob and rap OG. While he might not be known as the group's strongest rapper, even he has conceded that that distinction belongs to his nephew Takeoff, or the most visible, that be his cousin Offset, the husband of Cardi B. Quavo has been the fulcrum of the operation, a true rock star figure whose own story and artistic aspirations have sometimes remained mysterious. In mid-May, Quavo released a track he recorded with Takeoff, a song called Hotel Lobby, which the two produced not under the Migos banner, but under a new musical moniker, Uncle and Few. A full album is on the way, and while the duo's traditional playfulness is on full display, the song's video, Quavo and Takeoff cruise around Los Angeles on shrooms, fear and loathing style, and Quavo hopes this fresh musical project can be the start of something new. Of course, a project like this is always bound to raise questions about the state of Migos. In the days after we met in Atlanta, for example, a rumor that the trio might be breaking up surfaced on Twitter after a few blogs noticed that Offset unfollowed the other 2 members of the group on Instagram. And then in June, Migos dropped out as headliners for the Governor's Ball in New York City. A representative for the group brushed off the idea of a breakup, noting a simple rescheduling conflict. Quavo, who recently started acting, had to be on a film set with John Travolta and pointed out that Migos are still scheduled to perform together at festivals in September. More than a few observers, notably the rap commentator DJ Academic, suggested that the unfollow might even be part of a savvy publicity move. Whether or not it's true that rap stars stand to benefit from online intrigue about their future, Quavo isn't coy about what he's after right now. At a pivotal career juncture, he's chasing new challenges in the studio, on screen, and even revisiting some old missteps. Perhaps most notably, for the first time in his career, he wants to explain where he's coming from and how the trajectory that he's plotted this past decade will inform what comes next. I feel like y'all know the Offset story, he tells me, referring to his cousin's very public relationship and time spent in jail. We're all growing, but I feel like the world really doesn't know about me. I think that's true. I didn't know much about Quavo at all. He'd like to begin changing that and offers a motorsport analogy to describe the career he's built for himself. I showed y'all the car, Quavo says. Now I'm about to show y'all the engine and how it was put together. The people closest to Quavo, and there's nobody closer than his family, will tell you that he was always a mama's boy. Born in Athens, he was raised as the youngest child of 3 and the only boy. When he was 4 or 5, his father died, leaving Edna as the sole provider for Quavius and his older sisters. Oh, I didn't know that. About a year later, a portion of their home in the North Valley neighborhood burned down in an accident. Oh shit. Edna, a beautician, was styling his sister's hair. His sister left some fries on the stove. As a kid, he always had a taste for flash. He loved to wear his mother's gold necklaces around the house and was industrious out of necessity. Unable to fit into the big watches that at the beauty supply store, he fashioned his own smaller versions out of cardboard. The interest in tinkering with watches endured into adolescence. Inspired by the spinning chain made famous by G-Unit, he comped a knockoff Jacob & Co. watch at the flea market, cracked it open, and installed his own spinning piece inside. I wore it in my yearbook picture, he recalls. Sometime between 7th and 9th grade, Edna announced to the family that they'd be moving to Gwinnett County, a northern suburb of Atlanta. I cried for so long because I didn't like it. I thought it was so different. We're from the country where everybody knows everybody. The family ended up in Lawrenceville, where they lived in a subsidized 3-bedroom home with a chocolate brown window trim. Their house wasn't luxurious, but he always felt loved there. Edna concedes that there was an impression in the family that she reserved special affection for her son. His sisters will say it now. You would never whoop him like you did us, Mama, she recalls. Even in those moments when she wanted to be tough with Quavius, mother and son would often end up laughing together instead, and he would scoot away smiling and unpunished. Go on, boy, Edna would say, amused. At Berkmar High School, Quavo was a fine student whose occasional brushes with trouble came about for disrupting class. Outside of school, bigger problems sometimes lurked. When he was around 14, his friends jumped someone at Wild Bill's, a former teen club in nearby Duluth. All the girls around there started telling everyone, Quavo says. The whole crew went down. Quavo was sent to juvenile detention center for 2 weeks, and Edna was devastated when she found out. She remembers what she felt when she dropped him off at the detention center. Honey, she tells me, I thought I was going to die. I mean, actually die. I went in there boo-hooing, just crying so bad. Quavo isn't as traumatized as the experience as his mother. He was able to leave in the mornings to attend school, but had to return to the facility later each day. A director at the center told Edna that only her son could decide whether or not he was going to get into any more trouble, and the choice wasn't hers to make. Though the difficulty Edna and Quavo faced in those 2 weeks stuck with them both. He didn't like it. I didn't like it. I could tell he was trying to be strong, and I was trying to be strong, but he never went back. In those teenage years, Quavo focused on his two biggest talents, football and music. He loved playing football, and along with music, still considers the game as one of the loves of his life. His athleticism and leadership skills made him an excellent quarterback, but he only managed to play for about 2 years in high school. His family struggled to afford his participation in organized teams outside of school, and his grades weren't good enough to allow him to consistently play for Berkmar. Music, on the other hand, was still always present. Quavo's nephew, Kirshnik Ball, 3 years his junior, was living with the family on and off for those years. Ball was into music and rapping and recruited his uncle to record with him. Using a sock-covered microphone purchased from Walmart, the two started making music under the moniker Polo Club. They produced their homemade tracks using the Windows Movie Maker software used to create slideshows by recording their verses into the program. There was one problem, though. Everything had to be recorded perfectly in one go. That's how we would make a record, Quavo recalls. You would have to record it from start to finish, and if you messed up, you had to start all over again. Ball got his nickname Takeoff from the fact that he could just launch into his verses and record everything in a single pristine take. Oh, that's clever. That skill would prove useful in the long run, as Movie Maker necessitated a standard of perfection, and the group's early stuff already had hints of the classic Migos sound. From the cadence to the delivery, this, that intro, this, that intro, this, that intro, welcome to the show, Quavo, says Quavo, delivering each word in half-note intervals while laughing. In the 9th grade, after hours of hard work, the uncle-nephew duo put out their first mixtape and distributed it to the other kids, and it landed with a meh. I think we had one person that liked it, Quavo said. That person was his cousin Kiari Cephas, or Offset. Oh, that's really cool. When Quavo was a senior, he dropped out of school with 1 semester remaining. Not because he thought he was going to make it as a rapper necessarily. Rapping was just something he did for fun. But he knew he was tired of school and he wasn't getting anything from it anymore, so he stopped going. That makes sense. A little over a year later, his old classmates were returning home from college to visit and noticed Quavo and his friends were still pretty stagnant. Crucially, a few of the girls Quavo was interested in all started to tell him the same thing. Y'all niggas need to go to college, he remembers being told. Y'all ain't doing shit. Y'all boys ain't gonna be shit. Y'all still here, out here with your mama and them. Quavo took it as a personal challenge to prove his standing. So we had to get out, hustle a little, he says. We started hustling, getting real money. Shortly after that, Migos, with Offset in the fold, really started taking their rap trajectory seriously. They began aggressively promoting themselves, hitting up clubs like the Pink Flamingo, where they were getting cool with the DJs and persuade them to play their songs, often to mixed results. And then we did Bando, Quavo says, recalling the 2012 trap hit in which he memorably raps, "Got bricks like Shaq at the free throw." It started something in the club instantly, he adds. Migos had landed their first local hit, and in Atlanta, a local hit can be a shortcut to the national stage. As the only boy in the family, Quavo grew up being looked after by women. He had Takeoff and Offset for sure, but he was older than both of them, and he mostly navigated life with the help and guidance of a male figure, someone without the male figure, like someone he could look up to. But for years, Edna had told Quavo that he had an older brother from his father's side, someone Quavo had never met, and the idea fascinated him in his early 20s. Quavo came across a crazy-ass video of a man that he was convinced might be his older brother, and Quavo found himself studying his Facebook page, or was it MySpace, and he decided to send him a message. He went by the name Willie Bands, and he too was a rapper, and he was from Columbus, Georgia. Quavos messaged Willie, telling him who he was, and they shared the same father. Migos was at the time just blowing up, and Willie was initially and understandably skeptical, but he agreed to a phone conversation anyway. He was nice and quick, Quavo remembers, but I don't think he believed that I was his brother. After the two hung up, Willie called back less than a half an hour later. The pair agreed to connect during a Migos show in Columbus, and they hit it off instantly. Willie started showing up to shows regularly. One time the crowd was especially rowdy and hostile, and so instead of going home that night, Willie made a split-second decision to tag along with Migos, as well as rappers Young Thug and Pee-wee Longway on the drive back to Atlanta. I was like, let's go, Quavo said, and he got in the Sprinter with us and he never looked back. The two have been nearly inseparable since. That's really cool. Quavo's big brother quickly became a fixture in his life and career, and even joined the group to help out on a tour through Europe in 2015. It was the first time any of them had been overseas, Quavo says. He especially enjoyed Amsterdam. I didn't go to the red light district. I was scared. It was too crazy for me, but we ate some of those little pancakes. My God, they're the best. You can spot Willie everywhere in a Vice show called Noisy Raps documenting that tour. Hovering in the background, front and center during the performances, sporting a black ski mask with the letters YRN printed in gold while showing off his gold grills and jewelry. Whatever was needed on a day-to-day basis, I was willing to do that to support my brother. He's protective of Quavo and endlessly helpful. Not long ago, Quavo was shooting a film, and according to Willie, one of the other actors suddenly became unavailable. Luckily, Willie had been on set with his brother and knew the actor's lines, so Willie stepped in to play the role. Hey, whatever needs to be done, I jump right in and I swim, Willie says. If it was the acting role, if I had to change the oil in the car, I'm gonna get it done. I'm your guy. Quavo's recent foray into acting might be his biggest creative reach these days. He's got roles in a handful of upcoming films, including the Robert De Niro-led drama Wash Me in the River, due out later this year, as well as the Travolta project, the heist film called Cash Out. As other projects swirl, Quavo tells me he's approaching the Hollywood work with an ambitious seriousness and a clear idea for the kind of career he might like to create. I kind of want to be like an Ice Cube when it comes to rapping and acting, he says. I don't think people realize what that man did. He did it culturally in the music and with the movies. I feel like that's what the world's missing right now. In addition to the work he plans to do in front of the camera, Quavo wants to expand his efforts behind it, namely as a director of music videos. He directed the one for Migos' 2018 song Narcos and is credited on several other Migos videos, but he says he often feels overshadowed by the producers and directors that the group works with, including his friend, the director Daps, whose credits include the videos for Bad and Bougie, T-Shirt, and Slippery. Candidly, Quavo says, Daps is my nigga, so I can say this shit, but I got tired of him taking my shine. I feel like he was taking me off a little bit. He emphasizes that he still plans to work with Daps, but wants to demonstrate what he can do as a director. I would love to do a video for other people if y'all want my vision. Quavo offers that he'd particularly like to collaborate with Chloe and Halle, the R&B sister duo signed to Beyonce's Parkwood Entertainment, for example. I don't know what she just said. Hearing Quavo talk about ratcheting up his ambitions as a director and as an actor naturally brings to mind the questions that dogged him earlier this summer. How does Migos fit into the culture that Quavo's building? Well, the way Quavo sees it, these new pursuits don't threaten Migos, rather they help to solidify the group. He tells me that it's very important at this stage in their careers for each of them to establish themselves as individuals to maximize their impact independently. It was all about Migos, 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 the three of us, he says, describing the first decade of the trio's run. I feel like every group member has to establish themselves, their own body of work. If not, you start losing members. Okay, I think, is that the Oakland train?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll stop this. We have a lot more, guys. We have this is mad interesting. Maybe we'll go to campus and read this. So I'm gonna go to dinner with Josh tonight. I don't know where we're gonna go, but okay. So we're at the part where it says at Adam Robertson. We've got 10 minutes left, but this is great. I'm happy we got to read the first one.